which is 100% owned by China Development Bank, and with the initial registered capital of $1 billion US, and eventually it will increase to $5 billion US. There are also other subsidies and financial assistance, including preferential tax treatment and preferential loans to enterprises engaged in investment overseas. And lastly, there are also a number of investment facilitation measures. The Chinese government has issued for 3 times the catalog for the country-specific and industry-specific guidance on outbound investment, providing direction and guidance on what countries and what industries Chinese companies should look for investment opportunities. China has also established a system of country-specific report on barriers to investment and business operations, and regularly publishes the country-specific report on trade and investment environment, providing information on barriers to outbound investment and guiding Chinese companies to understand and avoid potential risks. A number of Chinese commercial banks have also developed financial products to cater for investment needs, to provide financial services for Chinese companies investing overseas, including loans, credit guarantee, and insurance, etc. In this section, I will reveal China's experiences in outbound investment, namely successes and accomplishments and problems and obstacles. I have summarized 5 points as successes and accomplishments made by Chinese companies when investing overseas. The first one is setting up distribution channels and gaining access to overseas market. This is the most important motivation for investing overseas. Remember the previous table. And by acquiring local enterprises and setting up manufacturing and sales operations in foreign markets, Chinese companies are able to control their own distribution networks. One famous example is China's biggest computer maker, Lenovo Group. It purchased IBM's PC business, I think 3 years ago, and it immediately gained the IBM's distribution channel in North American market. And secondly, obtaining rights to explore natural resources in other countries. Chinese companies have established dozens of long-term agreements with foreign countries to explore natural resources. And in 2005, 20% of China's import of crude oil and iron ore were excavated and explored by Chinese companies. And their third benefit is enhancing Chinese companies' innovative capacity. For developing countries, one of the most important reasons to invest overseas is to upgrade its technology and increase its innovative capacity. Chinese companies have been acquiring foreign enterprises and setting up R&D centers in other countries to accomplish this goal. For example, Chinese company BOE Enterprise purchased Hyundai, Korea's Hyundai Group's business of TFT LCD, the liquid crystal display system, and it immediately became the most technologically advanced producer in China. And another example would be the very famous Chinese telecom equipment maker Huawei Technology Company, who is gaining market share at expense of Cisco. It has set up R&D centers in Sweden, Russia, India, and the US to exploit talents and technologies globally to enhance its innovative capacity. And the first accomplishment is we're able to cultivating our own Chinese multinational corporations and increase their competitiveness. By investing overseas and setting up national operations, Chinese companies have increased profit, gained market share, enhanced their competitiveness, and product recognition internationally. In 2008, 25 companies from China were listed among the Fortune magazine's 500 biggest global companies, a historic best. And lastly, investing overseas has also been a very important means to improve China's relations with host countries. When investing overseas, Chinese government and Chinese companies are always mindful that such investments must not only benefit ourselves, but also benefit the host countries. Chinese companies often set up their business strategy in accordance with host countries' development strategies and complement China's foreign aid policy and carry out corporate social responsibility within the local communities. So the outbound investment not only help Chinese companies grow, but also has become an important channel for improving relations with other countries. However, we do have problems and obstacles when investing overseas. The first one is complicated and time-consuming approval process. Even though the Chinese government has improved the approval process significantly, but it can still be time-consuming and even costly for enterprises looking to invest overseas. Every application sometimes needs to be approved by 3 different branches of government, one in charge of foreign exchange, one in charge of commerce, foreign commerce, one in charge of investment. Sometimes these different agencies require different procedures and different documents, so it can be misleading and cumbersome for enterprise to comply with. And normally the approval process takes about 3 months to complete. It's actually a lot faster than before, but when companies are making a very important and timely decision on mergers and acquisitions in foreign markets, 3 months is obviously too long. So a lot of work still needs to be done on this respect. And second, lack of qualified personnel. To make a successful foreign investment, Chinese companies need qualified managers who can speak foreign language, who understand foreign culture, and preferably have experience working in international multinational corporations. But such people are very scarce, and sometimes Chinese companies, especially small and medium-sized companies, simply give up investment overseas because they don't have qualified managers to run the operation. And lastly, lack of information and understanding about foreign market is also a very serious obstacle. Most Chinese companies have only begun to invest overseas recently. Therefore, they have very limited experience and exposure to the opportunities and risks involved in doing business abroad. And lack of information and understanding about foreign markets can seriously affect companies' ability to make right investment decisions. On the one hand, they may give up investment because of lack of information and understanding. On the other hand, they may make rash investment decisions based on poor information without fully understanding the risks involved. So although the Chinese government has done a lot to provide information to Chinese companies, especially small and medium-sized companies, but it can still be very costly to obtain right information, especially in developing countries. Okay, in the last section, I will briefly go over China's outbound investment and Latin America.